I want to talk about something Donald Trump said in response to a reporter's question yesterday. I think there's a couple possible interpretations. So let's watch and then we can talk about it.
The president of Venezuela called the strike on the boat illegal. Are you concerned that Maduro might escalate something?
No, what's illegal are the drugs that were on the boat and the drugs that are being sent into our country. And the fact that 300 million people died last year from drugs, that's what's illegal.
We can and we should have a conversation about Donald Trump and the U.S. military striking that boat and whether or not that constitutes a war crime. But for the moment, let's focus on his statement that 300 million Americans died of drug overdoses last year. Now, to be fair, we don't have comprehensive data out for 2024, but we do for 1999 through 2023. This is from the Centers for Disease Control. You can definitely see an upward tick in the number of deaths from overdose. Right, this is not a good trend for the last 20 plus years. We could talk about how fentanyl has made this problem much worse. Stigmatizing substance users, especially homeless substance users, has also exacerbated the overdose issue. We could talk about how much responsibility the pharmaceutical industry bears for opioid addiction, but let's just focus on 2023 statistics here for a second. 105,000 Americans died of drug overdose in 2023. You can see that men are about twice as likely to die of overdose as women. That would be an unbelievable leap to go from 100,000 deaths in 2023 to 300 million in 2024. And yet that's the claim that the President of the United States of America made yesterday. And at the moment that I'm filming this at 3:30 in the afternoon, the next day, that has not been corrected. And I understand a lot of Trump's rhetoric, a lot of this regime's rhetoric around drug trafficking, substance use, drugs coming up from the southern border is really not based in fact. It's really about making us fearful of immigrants. It's really about him being able to justify closing borders down and isolating the United States. It's about manufacturing conflict. It's about scaring Americans. It's very easy to scare Americans when it comes to issues of substance use and overdose because it really is a problem in this country, as you can see by that increasing trend. And strong men like Trump are very good at harnessing fears that are really prevalent in the culture and using those to his advantage to justify his authoritarian plans, to justify taking away more and more of your rights. People who are fearful are much easier to control and will much more quickly hand over their liberty to a strong man who is promising to protect them. I've seen a number of folks on social media playing this clip today and saying this is proof that Donald Trump has dementia. Right, this is just such an unbelievably outrageous claim in a country of 340 million people. 300 million of them did not die of drug overdoses last year. Think for 2 seconds about what that would look like. Think about the bubonic plague. Between 25, depending on which round of it, 25 and 50% of your community would have died of that, and that was unbelievably devastating. Could you imagine if most Americans in 1 year died of drug overdose? It's so preposterous. If you think about the math for even like the tiniest second, it seems absolutely silly. Not that this conversation is silly, right? Because our military killed a bunch of Venezuelans. Our substance use issues in this country these are very serious issues, right? But Donald Trump's claim is so absurd that we're able to find humor in it. And one of the ways that people are trying to explain that is like, this is proof of his senility. And I definitely think Donald Trump has a lot of cognitive decline. I've said this before, if you go back and watch videos from even before the election, but definitely from 1 or 2 or 3 years ago, he's always had his kind of word salad. He's always had an amount of absurdity in what he says, but it's so obvious now that he has a hard time following conversations, seems confused more. Like the change is really obvious. Maybe I should do a video of side-by-side comparisons over the last 5 years. So I'm not arguing with anybody who's like, this is proof that he's senile. This is proof that he is experiencing cognitive decline. Pretty normal for an almost 80-year-old man who is not in good health to have some cognitive issues. That would not be in any way abnormal. But I don't actually think that's what's going on here. It may be a compounding factor, but I think what we're really seeing here is yet another example of Donald Trump using post-truth politics. I did a really long video on this a couple months ago. It didn't get very much traction at all, but I do think it's a really crucial concept for us to understand. Post-truth or post-factual or post-reality politics, whatever term you want to use, they're all kind of used interchangeably in the literature. That is a technique that Donald Trump employs constantly. In post-truth politics, the strong man, the political figure, is using emotional appeals and lots of half-truths, lots of manipulated data, or even just outright lies. The truth doesn't really matter, right? In previous decades and previous political administrations, there was still this desire to pursue truth. It's just that people had different ideas about what to do with factual information. People had different interpretations, different biases, etc. But there still was a shared reality. There still was a shared understanding in many aspects as far as what truth is. Donald Trump employs post-truth politics, so there is no rational debate to have here. There is no thoughtful intellectual discourse. There is no good faith engagement at all. And specifically, when it comes to facts, statistics, he just says whatever the fuck he wants. It's the same reason he says his approval rating is 80%. It's the same reason he fired the head statistician so that we no longer get accurate jobs figures. Well, at least that's what he was hoping for. So we get these huge outsized claims that are totally divorced from any kind of scientific accuracy, any kind of real quantifiable data. And instead, we get this, like, Trump operates on vibes, and he throws out really extreme numbers, knowing that if somebody fact checks him, he'll just call them a liar. Or he'll hope that his audience, his base, will just unquestioningly, uncritically accept whatever comes out of his mouth. They will repeat it. It'll get repeated throughout the culture, and people will believe it. It will become absorbed into the popular consciousness. Even though, like, when we hear Donald Trump say things like that, right, we think, like, God, that's so absurd. That's so absurd. That's so outrageous. His base will believe it. It really gives Third Reich Ministry of Propaganda, like, Goebbels, like, just say something over and over and over again, lie over and over and over again, and the people will believe it. If somebody questions you on your lie, you don't back down. You confidently keep repeating it. And then eventually you lie so much that people just start accepting it as the truth. Your confidence and your continued assertion that what you're saying is not wrong, people eventually, you gaslight the shit out of them, and they eventually come to accept it as true. I perennially find Donald Trump's post-truth politics fascinating in a really horrifying way, because there still is that segment of folks on the right who really love debate bro culture, right? The Ben Shapiros, previously Charlie Kirk, and there are plenty of liberal centrist guys who want that as well, right? The entire Unfuck America tour, who believe this whole, like, we can just argue, we can just debate, and whoever has the most persuasive argument and can bring the most very quick, quippy facts or statement, they don't have to always be facts, statements to the table, and can persuade other people, like, they win. Trump doesn't need to be quippy or intellectual or be able to quote statistics. He just makes them up. There's no surgical precision. It's just bludgeoning with falsehoods, a way that's really confident, and hoping your base will never fact check you and they'll just accept it. But one of the things I think that's so important about post-truth politics is that ultimately you can't persuade people with facts. You can't persuade people with statistics. It is all about emotions and vibes. And it's also about undercutting, gaslighting people so much. You undercut their ability to believe in statistics and facts and a shared reality at all. So it's simultaneously about Trump just lying as much as he possibly can till people believe what he says, but it's also about undermining an entire society's belief in the truth at all. It's incredibly, incredibly damaging. I don't personally know enough about how to recover from post-truth politics. This is in many ways kind of uncharted territory for us as a society. But we've got to learn how to recover. We've got to learn how to move forward from here, recapture a shared understanding of reality, recapture our appreciation, our value for the truth, for facts. Maybe you have more insight here than I do, but I don't know what it looks like to move beyond post-truth. I just want to highlight this quote here because, sure, maybe it's evidence of his senility, but this is a tactic he employs a lot. He would be underestimating the power of post-truth politics to just write it off. It's nothing more than, okay, Grandpa, post-truth politics is very, very dangerous. We need to understand how it's leveraged, how it's been leveraged to create the society that we have now, and how we need to figure out how to address it, counter it, move beyond it, so that we can build the society that we all want and need and deserve going forward.